I'm sure you've heard the phrase, I want to live in the world of Pokemon, but nobody ever stops to think, where would you live? Each region brings a new challenge to the table. Whether it's legendaries fighting all the time, Team Rocket jumping you and taking all your Pokemon, or just really bad weather, we're gonna go through each region, going through various criteria to find out the worst place to live in Pokemon. The Kanto region is a pretty nice place to start, and we have a lot of greenery around us. Just take a look at Viridian Forest. Just be sure to stay away from the more sketchy parts of town. But first, how's the team activity? Team activity refers to various teams active in each region. Kanto has Team Rocket, and their goals are pretty simple. They just want to take over the world by using stolen Pokemon, and using those stolen Pokemon to create genetically modified Pokemon like Mewtwo. You will encounter them here the most. But that's not to say you won't see them outside of here. That's right! Team Rocket is global! Luckily we have a champion, we have Professor Oak, and we have a lot of good gym leaders here as well. I would say the Kanto region is in solid hands. Ultimately, the champion Blue is a really good trainer, but Giovanni and Mewtwo give a lot of people a good run for their money. As for the wild Pokemon here, it's a pretty interesting mix, and there are a lot of deadly Pokemon you gotta watch out for. For example, Gyarados could level cities. The entire Gengar line could steal your soul. Of course, there also are the legendaries like Mew, who is one of the many godfathers of the Pokemon. The legendary birds are also here. On a technicality, I'll mention Mewtwo. Now, originally Mewtwo didn't see anything wrong with Team Rocket's plan, but after a trainer risked their life for their Pokemon, he changed his ways. So this region shouldn't really see too many conflicts between the legendaries, which is extremely common as you'll come to find out. So if you can't rely on Gary or O, the legendaries would give a hand eventually. So where would be the worst place to live in Kanto? Lavender Town is just miserable. It's a place of remembrance for the fallen Pokemon and is home to Pokemon like Gengar, who will in fact suck the soul out of you. Wait, what? There's literally death all around you. They have a lot more threatening Pokemon around, and a lot less to do. Johto is very beautiful any time of year. It's rich in culture and history as well. You know, you got the story of the 3 legendary dogs, you got HOOH and Lugia, it's just all so beautiful. You can visit Ecruteak for its ties to HOOH, and if you're looking for a challenge, you could go to Mount Silver and challenge Red, one of the strongest trainers ever. Whatever you do, just stay away from Mahogany Town, because that's where Team Rocket is. Johto is also home to Team Rocket, but this time this is like their second biggest turf. They're not the main enemy in this game. It's actually Giovanni's son, Silver, which means Giovanni has been getting busy! Besides that though, Team Rocket still has the same morals and goals. I mean, they started spawn camping Slowpoke to take their tails. Though what's funny is that the strength of trainers here is pretty good. Now as for the strength of Pokemon, this region's pretty tame. Of course we have Tyranitar who could level mountains, and then Houndoom, if he bites you, you're just gonna burn forever. Like there's no cure, you're just gonna be burnt for the rest of your life. Of course the legendaries are also pretty cool, but they're a lot more peaceful and they don't really stir shit up. HOOH, for example, he brings good luck to whoever finds him, right? Lugia is like a controller of wind, and they flap their wings and then they cause thunderstorms. You also have the 3 legendary dogs, where the story goes, 3 EVs, right? They all went into some kind of building and they died, and HOOH brought them back to life. They're all relatively strong as well. I mean, Entei could just start volcano eruptions with a single bark. We also have Celebi, who can control time, which is really sick. So honestly, it's pretty chill, assuming everybody just wants to hang out, but if someone wants to fuck around, boy is everybody gonna find out. Now this doesn't seem as bad of a place to live, but there is one place I wouldn't want to live here, and that's Mahogany Town, because it's basically Gotham City. You got Team Rocket headquarters here. You also have the Lake of Rage, so this whole city can just get demolished whenever. It just feels like an accident waiting to happen. I mean, I guess the rent will be cheap. Hoenn is really beautiful. Too bad all of it's surrounded by water. You know, you can visit Slateport for a huge portside market. Why not check out Fortree, where folks live in trees? Just be sure to watch out for the 2 rivaling teams of Hoenn. Team Magma, besides having really dope fits, they just want to create more land mass for everybody, which is pretty cool, but the way they go about it is probably the worst way to do that. They want to do it by controlling Groudon, the Pokemon that can literally cause earthquakes and just destroy everything. What about Team Aqua? Well, they actually want to do something different. They want to create more water for everybody. Now, that's also a really admirable thing, but you want to know what they want to do it with? They want to do it with Kyogre, and they just want to control Kyogre, and I can tell you, like, that's a horrible idea. Obviously, good intentions, but what the hell were they thinking? That That could have gone so bad. Rayquaza woke up. You know how hard it is to get Rayquaza to wake up and stop them from fighting? It's unheard of. You know, for every Professor Birch who couldn't handle a Poochyena, you also have a Champion Steven, so it kind of balances itself out. Not to mention Brendan's dad, who is so strong, he left his wife and kid at home to become a better trainer. And who could forget Zinnia? There are some dope mons in this generation as well. You know, Absol's presence warns people and Pokemon about disasters that are about to happen. Dusclops can literally absorb you or anything, and Lotad is pretty cool too. All the threats are actually in the legendary. So like I said before, Groudon's the Landmaster. He can cause fissures, earthquakes, and a lot more. He can level cities simultaneously. Of course, there's also Kyogre. It can summon storms, cause tsunamis, the works. So when those two fight, which they do a lot when they're awoken, you might just see Rayquaza, who is the peaceful mediator. He mediates the two by beating the crap out of each of them. Of course, the Regis also exist here, and we have 3 of them here. And it's supposed to be all metaphorical, but they just look really funny. And of course, Jirachi will not wake up for anything, but on the off chance it does, just make a wish. It might come true. Where would I not want to live in Hoenn? But it seems like most of, if not all the towns have adapted to this, right? Just look at the one that's built on Corsola colonies. So Lava Ridge Town, for a refresher, is the one with like that hot spring and it's right behind the volcano. It's beautiful and those springs can heal any ailment, right? Maybe not Houndoom bites, but still. It won't matter if you're engulfed in lava because Groudon got woken up. You're done. You're just simply cooked. Like, good luck getting out of there. You're dead. If you thought Hoenn was bad, just wait till we hit Sinnoh. We have things like Mount Coronet, which is rumored to be the place where Pokemon were created, which pairs well with Arceus, the big bambino of all Pokemon. We also have Celestic Town, which is the place with all of Sinnoh's history and mythology. Of course, we also have the 3 late guardians. We have Regigigas, which is like the leader of the Regis. We also have Dialga and Palkia, who can control space and time respectively. Of course, we have Giratina, which is basically like the Satan of the Pokemon world. What team would even consider living here? Team Galactic. They want to reshape the universe. They want to do this to get rid of emotions and make life better for everyone. Bro, you know what's arguably easier and cheaper than creating a huge organization bent on world domination? Therapy. Then again, we wouldn't have Leader Mars. What about the strength of the champion? It's Cynthia. This is arguably the most stacked region, but it doesn't help to have Professor Rowan's aura either. Just look at him. Like, who's gonna beat this man? Of course, the strength of Pokemon here, they're pretty strong. So if you get caught or you die, you could get combined with 107 other people's souls and be turned into Spiritomb. Yes, that's a real thing, I'm not kidding. Dusknoir is essentially the Grim Reaper, and if you come across a pissed off Frostlass, it will freeze you and turn you into its trophy, parading you around forever. You know, the one thing I would always hear about Sinnoh growing up was that it had too many legendaries and mythicals. They were not wrong about the amount, because oh my god, there's so many. So like I said, we have Giratina, we also have Palkia and Dialga, right? So space, time, and then Satan. What if you piss them off so much that you just get sent back to the beginning of the Sinnoh region? Of course, the late guardians are also pretty chill. And so is Heatran, Manaphy, Fion, Shaman. But I also forgot to mention Darkrai, who will literally just haunt your nightmares. And of course, Regigigas, you know, leader of the Regis and whatnot. There's just a lot of legendaries here. Where should I start looking to live here if I hate myself? I could be corny and pick the distorted world, but I think I'll give it to Snow Point City. And if the legendaries ever get into a scuffle, you're probably doomed because of all that snow. Unova. One of the most beautiful, life-changing experiences I went through was playing Pokemon Black. You know, you got Driftvale City, you got Undella Town, it's all beautiful. But of course, there's a new team in town. Team Plasma, one of the most interesting teams ever. Banking on your hero to just listen to you and totally not switch up after to champion your mission of getting Zekrom or Reshiram and using them for your own malicious intent is wild. And they mask it all under the guise of releasing everybody's Pokemon so that they're equals, because Pokemon aren't meant to be battle, that's abuse. The fact they got so far with that is so crazy to me. Like, they literally got to the end game of their plan. Like, if Reshiram didn't show up to help the player, they would have succeeded. They were that close. They beat the champion. They had the champion on their knees and they fumbled at the end. because they didn't account for N having a hero's heart, which is the whole point of summoning Zekrom. You have a hero's heart. As for the rest of the trainers here, you also have Cynthia. She lives here. How about the fact that all 8 gym leaders were present in the final fight against Team Plasma? I think that's really awesome. Like, this is the most stacked group of trainers, and it makes sense for the area they're in. There are plenty of Pokemon here that will want to kill you. You know, Chandelure will suck the soul out of you. That just goes for the whole line, actually. Hydreigon will consider you an op if you just move around it, which is ridiculous. If a crocodile playfully bites you, you just have one less arm. Yamask will just steal your face and use it, and I mean the 2 main legendaries have been told to fight in great battles and only to be utilized by heroes. They're just ridiculous! Even Kyurem! They're ridiculous! Of course, you know, there's also like the 3 deer things, and then of course we have Thundurus, Landorus, you know, those things, they exist and they'll probably kill you too. It's just, there's just so much here. Well, on the one hand, you have some of the strongest trainers in the game. You also have some of the deadliest legendaries to ever exist. Why would you want to live here? Unfortunately, I think the rent would be cheapest in Driftvale City. So, Kalos is basically Paris. It has a lot of cool stuff, and it also has Mega Evolution, courtesy of Shallower City. But, you know, Lysander and Team Flare exist here because nobody really talks about their motives, which were make the world beautiful. Seems reasonable enough, right? Until you learn that Lysander plans to do this by weeding out people and eliminating people he deems not worthy of being in this beautiful world. Meaning everyone else is gonna be killed, including Pokemon. I don't know how XY managed to live, especially with the champion as weak as that. Oh, I know how. Because Zygarde and Squishy exist, and they just killed Lysander. I'm not kidding, they killed Lysander by drawing a letter Z on the floor. He just died. Speaking of Pokemon, you have Tyrantrum, right? He's basically the king of all dinosaurs, and he was a king in his time. Why did we bring him back? I don't know. We also have Slurpuff though. I love Slurpuff. But you know, if a Malamar catches you, good luck. Aegislash can literally be used to manipulate people and Pokemon. And Pyroar has 10,000 degree breath. So if he breathes on you too hard, you're just dead. Even considering Yveltal, which is like Giratina 2.0, he can just absorb the life force of anything around him. We also have Xerneas, who does the exact opposite. It gives life to everything. Like, it could share eternal life if it wanted to. There's also Hoopa, who could just bring in legendaries from any region. Like, he could just summon a Groudon to level a city if he wanted to. But of course, I mean, humans captured him and trapped him in a bottle, so how bad is it really? So where would I want to live least here? I'm gonna say Lumiose, because I feel like Lumiose is, which is where Team Flare lives, where a lot of the problems, this is where they would happen. Especially when you have Lysander running around, and also because, you know, Hoopa, he could just, you know, spawn whoever. You're not gonna be safe anywhere in Kalos, if we're being honest. Alola. It's a tropical region, you know, it's beautiful, has lots of beaches, lush greenery. What could possibly ruin this region? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Team Skull is really cool, but they are not threatening in this region. Hell, Lucimene's a bigger threat. You see, Team Skull's just a group of hooligans who just felt left out and castrated from society. Good for them, right? I mean, they have Po-Town, but do they really need all of Alola? Like, that's kind of greedy. You see, the crazy part comes in when every leader from every previous team is here and present. And, you know, Rainbow Rocket, you know, Team Rocket's like basically second generations here too. Good luck. Now, Professor Kukui is arguably one of the greatest professors out there. I mean, he's literally a wrestler in his spare time. And he's the first champion for Alola, technically, because, you know, they don't have a champion yet. But after that, there's Plumeria, you have Gladion, How, and even this child who you met on Route 1. And I wish I was kidding. So basically this just boils down to avoid going to the beach and you'll live. But the problem is most of Alola is the beach. You know, Mimikyu can kill you if you look under its cloth for too long. And, you know, Palossand will just eat you. So the legendaries, this is a lot harder, and that's because Ultra Wormholes exist. You mean to tell me a Guzzlord or a Buzzwole can just pop through a hole and destroy my entire city just randomly? That's unheard of. That's obscene. That's diabolical. That's dubious. I mean, there's also, you know, Nebby, you know, Lunala and Solgaleo. Those exist, and those kind of counteract the legendary wormhole things, right? But they also have to deal with Necrozma. But I mean, there's also the Island Guardians, right? The Island Guardians will save us. This is just a really hard place to live. Arguably the worst place would be Po-Town, and that's because Team Skull lives there.
Metro Boomin, make it boom.
Galar is basically London, so we're off to a pretty meh start. Thankfully, I do think the vibe is good here, but they do have Dynamaxing, which causes Pokemon to grow extremely large. It's low-key a problem, which we'll discuss more, but first, let's discuss crime. Team Yell is the only team who doesn't want anything malicious. All they want is just to see Marnie take over as the champion, and I think that's so beautiful. Honestly, the worst they'll do is just battle you or just yell at you and be obnoxious. Like, honestly, the Power Junkie guy is just way worse. As for the strength of trainers here, you know, Hop? He's not my favorite rival. Like, why is it my fault he's bad at Pokemon battles? And he's so bad he becomes a professor. Like, that's not my fault, is it? Look at Professor Sonia. She's fine. I mean, look at her, you know, her old lady. She's doing fine too. Of course, you have Leon around, who is Hop's older brother. So I think we're in good hands in this region. In fact, the final act of Sword and Shield only happens because Leon can't be everywhere all at once and he needs people to help him. As for the strength of Pokemon in Galar, they're all pretty chill. Corviknight, you know, turned into a taxi Pokemon, with Dragapult launches its babies like missiles. Grimmsnarl can even overpower a Machamp, which is really scary to me. And Hatterene, it's a vibe check Pokemon which will kill you if the vibe is off. The legendaries here are pretty sick. You know, you have Zacian and Zamazenta. Really cool. And of course, Eternatus is the reason Dynamaxing exists, which is really sick. That evil dude tried to harness him and it didn't go very well. And of course, you know, you have Cubfu or Urshifu. Those are pretty sick. We also got a couple of new Reggies, which was really cool, especially Regieleki, which raises the question of, if this dude existed, why did the evil dude who wanted power not just use Regieleki instead of Eternatus and almost destroy the entirety of Galar in the process? I honestly don't know. That being said, I wouldn't want to live in Spike Month. Why? Because Team Yell's there. It's like Po-Town, but with less of a threat, surprisingly. That's just crazy to me. Paldea is often compared to Spain, and I see why. It's very pretty. You can visit the mountains, you could go to school, visit the beach, or you could even visit where it all began, Area Zero. Just, you know, that big crater thing in the middle of the region. Pretty sick, right? What's not pretty sick is the team here. Team Stars is just a group of rebellious kids from school, and it grew from wanting to fit in, to defending themselves, to disrupting major events and causing chaos pretty much everywhere. A school of chaos, if you will. They have established bases all around Paldea. They're children. They're just bullies. What? You also got Iono, you have Nimona. You have a lot of good trainers there, so you're in pretty solid hands. Of course, you know, the strength of Pokemon in Paldea is palpable. Tinkaton's here, who just loves hammering things. But, you know, you also have Greavard, who appears when you're, like, about to die. That was a crazy thing Pokemon just threw at us. Golden Go can drown you in money if it wanted to. And, of course, the Paradox Pokemon can and will fuck you up. But at least Palafin's here, right guys? So there's a lot of legendaries in Paldea. So I'll keep this one short.
Hey, how's it going? I've actually got something for you. This is the bread that you asked me to get, and you can now go make me a sandwich.
But Chi-Yu and the gang, they all have really interesting stories. One was created by the souls who perished to a sword. One is made by a ritual vessel full of fear. One was made out of leaves and spite. And one was just created by envy and it turned into a fish. That's awesome. But that also sounds really deadly, so good luck. So where would I not want to live in Paldea? Honestly, this is kind of hard, especially because you can't technically live in Area Zero, but practically everywhere you can live in Paldea is touching it. So I went with Mesagoza, since the leader of the team you fight is there, and you know, Lord knows how much Team Star really does anything. Alright, now that we've gone through all of them, let's rank them. I honestly don't know how this place exists. Like, these Pokemon have to live in harmony. You just have to trust these Pokemon are gonna just live there, and if they ever decide, oh, we're just gonna kill you, they're just gonna kill you. That's ridiculous. Mahogany Town, I mean, you're probably gonna get robbed there. Like I said, Team Rocket kind of works there. I'll put it in, you're gonna get robbed. As for Lava Ridge, I don't know how this place still exists. I mean, those springs must be so lucky, because that lava, if it hits you, you're just dead. If Groudon decides, hey, I'm gonna take over this city, it just will kill you. I'm gonna put it in, how does this place exist? Snow Point honestly isn't that bad, but that's just because there's not like a really horrible place to live in. This is just kind of the worst of it all. I'm gonna put it in Driftvale? I honestly don't know how it still exists. This region is ridiculous, so the fact it's still standing is pretty good, so I'll put it in meh. As for Lumio City, honestly, it's not too bad even with Lysander there, but you know, there's a lot of crazy Pokemon here, so I'm gonna put it in meh. Po Town! So like I said before, Po Town is just Gotham City too. I'm gonna put it in You're Gonna Get Robbed here. Same with Spikemuth, honestly. Spikemuth is just like, you know, Gotham City if Batman and Joker didn't really exist. And also Mesagoza, I'm gonna put that in I'd Rather Live Here, to be honest. So really, it's just gonna come down to which one don't I really care for. So for basing this off of the Pokemon, you know, the trainers, and just everything in general, I think the worst place to live is going to be Lavender Town, then Lava Ridge Town, then Driftvale City. In this order. I feel like you're probably gonna get killed by something, and then you're gonna be one of the things mourned there. Especially with the vibe and the atmosphere and everything, it just comes together to make a really bad place to live. So let me know what you think. This took a long time to write and record, so just, yeah, leave a like or something. Bye bye.